This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Hey, what's up and welcome to QnA, the show where I take your questions and answer them here on YouTube, Twitter, and everywhere else involved. Let's just jump into it. First question is from Everett, who says, I remember a few years ago when we signed AWOG, people talked about how much of a leader he was. How much does his return mean for the defense from a leadership standpoint, and how much do you think his leadership was missed last year? I don't know what it means for like leadership or whatever it is. That comes from different places in the NFL. I'm pretty sure AWOG means a lot just for, because he's a linebacker who is going to be where he's supposed to be. And for teams with more athletic pieces, they like to put Grant Delpit there. They like to put JOK there. You know, you just need to have somebody who's reliable there. So I don't know about his leadership. That's very hard to quantify, especially for people not in the building, not there with them every day. But I do know, you know, as far as his value on the field, he's somebody who's going to be where he's supposed to be, and he's going to be, you know, a consistent piece for this defense. So, yeah, I think AWOG means a lot to this defense. And I think, you know, it's obvious when he's out there that, you know, he's a reliable piece that they can lean on. Reese says, what's good, Q? How does it feel seeing our kicker finally make the ones he should make and right down the middle too? For me, it's nice to not worry about an extra point. You know, it's funny. The term that came to my head is adult in the room. Right? Like they just got an adult in the room at kicker. Somebody who's just going to do what they're supposed to do, make the kicks they're supposed to make, and get out the way. Right? That's all you want from your kicker. Like if you can get more out of that, that's great. But in general, if you just aren't in a position to constantly talk about your kicker, you'll take it. And hopefully that continues to be the case for Dustin Hopkins. You know, I think in general, any time that the kicker has to be the headline, even if it's positive, it's not really a good thing for your football team. Let's go all the way back to last year, right? Cade York, at this point last year, was the headline for the Cleveland Browns. He was a superstar. That didn't end up being something that boded well for the Cleveland Browns, because that meant that kind of told you, hey, the offense, the defense, something's not right here with this team, that they had to get bailed out of a game with the Carolina Panthers with a 61-yard field goal. Nobody was thinking that at the time, you know, but that's what ended up being one of the big factors of the season, that the defense sucked. We didn't pay attention to it until week 2, right? Where he misses an extra point and then the defense collapses. So I say this all the time, and I think people think I'm hating because I'm saying this. I'm just being honest. I don't ever want the kicker to be the headline, because when the kicker's the headline, that's not good. That does not mean championship football when we're headlining the kicker or gushing about the kicker or we're complaining about the kicker. The best thing a kicker can do is be the least discussed person on the team. If that's the case, doing a great job. If I forget who our kicker is, that man's doing a great job. Dead serious. Dylan Kruger says, big fan, keep up the good work. I was just curious, what do you think are the odds that David Njoku gets a Pro Bowl spot this year? I think he would be his best shot getting one, considering the new talent around him, especially at quarterback. It's possible. I mean, like the AFC tight end picture is not really that crowded. Oh, well, I mean, there's Travis Kelce and then there's Mark Andrews. So it is kind of crowded, but assuming that Travis Kelce declines his Pro Bowl invitation, I think it's possible for David to get in there as an alternate. You know, I think that's within the realm of possibility, especially since Darren Waller went to the NFC. So yeah, I think it's something that can happen for Njoku. We'll see. He's a really good run blocker, really good run blocker. Just need to see him live up to his potential as a pass catcher. Sometimes he does, some games he doesn't. Next question comes from Sly Walt, who says, how do you think the usage of all receivers will balance? How involved does Chubb get in the passing game this year? We saw 4 receptions for Chubb in week 1, so I'm wondering if that's going to continue. I would expect that it continues for Nick Chubb. I see no reason for him not to be involved in the receiving game. He is somebody who can do that. Not the best, not the most flexible guy on earth, but he definitely can do some of the stuff that you want to do in the run game. And I think they'll use him. Look, anytime you can get Nick Chubb the ball in space, I think they're going to take advantage of it. They're also going to use Elijah Moore to play off of that. They're also going to use Deshaun Watson, not as a receiver, but his ability to move. So I think there's going to be plenty of ways to get Nick Chubb the ball. I think Kevin Stefanski is thinking of all the ways to get Nick Chubb the ball. And that's really what's important here. Next question comes from Scott Jenkins, who says, if Jed Wills continues to struggle through the next 3 games and DeJuan Jones plays solid, do you expect that the Browns will use the week 5 bye to try to replace and prepare DeJuan Jones on the left side? If so, is there a realistic possibility? Under what circumstances would that experiment switch? No, there's no circumstances. There's just not. One, look, man, if DeJuan Jones is playing well on the right side, why mess with the good thing? It's no guarantee he switches to the left side and he dominates. Like, why mess with the good thing? Just let him be a good right tackle. If Jed Wills is struggling on the left side, you have things you can do to help Jed Wills, right? In the NFL, you hear Joe Thomas talk about it a lot. You can get away with 2 bad offensive linemen on the offensive line. The Browns have 4 good ones and a possible in Jed Wills. So 1, I don't think his struggles are going to get to that point. 2, if they even do, it's more likely they give Jed Wills some assist on his side if DeJuan Jones is holding it down. It is 0% likely that they move DeJuan if he's playing well from right to left. Because why mess with? Because then if you move him to left, where are you moving Jed? Are you moving Jed to right? So instead of having 4 good offensive linemen and then helping out the one guy who might be struggling, you want to switch 2 of them around and give the possibility that both of them suck? No, DeJuan Jones, if he plays well at right tackle, just keep him at right tackle. Don't overthink it. Sometimes we overthink it. Sometimes we think it's Madden. It's not Madden. You can't just switch DeJuan to the left side in a week. That's silly. If he plays well on the right side, just let him play the right side and then do things to help the left side. That's really it. It's not that complicated. 360 Addict says, I feel fairly confident in our matchup versus the Steelers, but one thing is concerning me outside of TJ Watt. How is Mike Tomlin going to game plan against us? I mean, like, come on now. Mike Tomlin and Kevin Stefanski have gone up against each other before in the playoffs and the regular season. This is nothing new. He's going to do similar stuff that he's always done. He's going to use what worked in some past games. He's going to use what's not. Kevin's held his own in plenty of matchups versus Mike Tomlin. This is nothing new. TJ Watt versus a rookie right tackle and DeJuan Jones, that's new, right? That's worth being worried about. But Mike Tomlin and his game plan versus the Browns, like, if he has a better game plan, he does. If he doesn't, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But it really, I mean, he's done this before. Kevin's prepared against it before. There should be nothing that new that happens here. It's not like a new dynamic. I don't understand being concerned about that at this point. It's been like 4 years, 9 matchups. They've gone against each other like 9 times in the last like 4 years. What would be the point? This is like the 5th time, right? No, like the 4th time. Well, however many times. It's a lot. All right, Fly Fast as a Duck says, Q, I know you watch film. What's your take on the tight ends we're using game 1? And do you think they'll be more involved in the game plan this week, having trouble covering tight ends the last couple of years? Yeah. The reason I don't think you saw a ton of David Njoku is they just didn't feel the need to test Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt. Those are 2 very good coverage linebackers. This week you're going up against, Cole Holcomb, and he's not their linebackers aren't the same quality of coverage linebackers as Cincinnati, and I think there are going to be some chances to take advantage of that, especially with the fact that the Steelers like to stay in base. So yeah, I do expect the Browns to try to take advantage of that matchup, and I expect that David has a better chance of having a big game this week. Cam with this question says, Mr. Q was good, fam. Love the content. Keep up the solid work. But heading into week 2, depending on the outcome, if Watson played great, do you think the national narrative about Watson changes, or do you think they continue to subsidize the hype around him and the Browns? And also, it's rumored T. Higgins can be on the move. I can see the Browns making a move for him, but it's doubtful. What do you think? One, like if Watson has a good enough game, there are going to be some people who get off his back. There are going to be some people who don't care, right? It's all about what level of skepticism do you have about Deshaun Watson in general that's going to move you off of it. Some people are going to be convinced after 2 games. Some people aren't going to be convinced until he wins the Super Bowl. It is what it is on that front. I don't think there's much to be super concerned about. But if the Browns go into Pittsburgh on Monday Night Football and beat Pittsburgh, it's going to change a lot of the narrative around the Cleveland Browns, especially within Cleveland, but even nationally, because point blank period, that's one of the things the Browns have always done, losing Pittsburgh in the regular season at least, that have made people feel like the Browns is the Browns. Right? Like that's what that comes from. Right? I think that phrase actually originates from Hines Ward when he said after the Browns in the wild card game in 2002 blew like a 14-point lead. You know, there's a famous NFL Films clip of him saying, hey, look, the Browns is the Browns. They're going to do what they're going to do. So if the Browns go into week 2 and beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road after beating the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that was in last year's AFC Championship game, handedly, that's going to announce to everybody that this is different for the Cleveland Browns this year. That maybe this isn't the Browns, it's the Browns. Just remember how much more seriously the Browns were taken in 2020 after they beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs. Right, beating Pittsburgh for this team, since everybody nationally knows the Browns don't ever really do this, especially on the big stage. Beating them on this stage in Pittsburgh would actually be a huge deal. And I think a lot of people would change their tune, because at that point it becomes like, oh, this is different. If they lose, people are going to treat them the same all year. Michael says with this one, hey Q, do you think if Deshaun has a good game, like Brock Purdy did against the Steelers fans will stop worrying about Deshaun is going to return in 2024? Look, Steeler fans who are concerned about Deshaun aren't concerned about Deshaun in good faith. They don't care. They don't care if he turns back to 2020 Deshaun Watson. They just care that they can make fun of Browns fans for thinking that could happen. They don't actually care. They're not concerned about the success of the Cleveland Browns organization. They're operating in bad faith. Just ignore them. The Joy says, how do you expect the offense to play? I said in my preview, I expect this to be a more conservative game for the Cleveland Browns, and I still stand by that. I think that this is going to be a game where they're going to have to be patient in the passing game, take things early, kind of lull the Steelers into submission with the run game and some quick throws. And then once they do that, I think there's going to be some opportunities to attack. But I think that's going to be the overall kind of game plan versus Pittsburgh this week. But thank you for watching. You guys have a great day. Have an even better night.